Director Patel, at one point you made an announcement that the suspect was in custody. We got our man. It turned out that was not true. In fact, I think that was about 27 hours before the person now in custody was apprehended. Why did you make that statement?
What the FBI does is not just locate and find suspects, but we also participate in eliminating subjects. And what we had at the time was a subject in custody in relation to this investigation. So in my commitment to work with the public to help identify subjects and suspects, I put that information out. And then when we interviewed him, I put out the results of that. And could I have been more careful in my verbiage and included an A subject instead of subject? Sure, in the heat of the moment, but I was doing the best I could.
In all candor, I don't quite get that, because if we have our man, that would suggest to the public that everybody...
All right. So I need you to really pay attention to what I'm about to tell you, because the FBI director is in serious legal jeopardy right now, and the situation is getting worse by the day. Kash Patel, the man Donald Trump put in charge of the most powerful law enforcement agency in America, is now facing formal accusations that he committed perjury, that he lied under oath, that he deceived the United States Senate during his confirmation hearings. And if these accusations are proven true, if the evidence backs up what senators and whistleblowers are saying, Patel could be looking at federal criminal charges. We're talking about potential indictment. We're talking about the possibility of arrest. We're talking about the FBI director himself facing the kind of criminal exposure that could end with him in handcuffs. Come on, can you believe this? The person running the agency that investigates federal crimes and arrests people might himself be arrested for lying to Congress. The irony here is almost too much to handle. This is the same guy who has been going after Trump's political enemies, the same guy who has been directing purges of FBI officials who worked on investigations into Trump, and now he's the one facing potential criminal liability for his own conduct. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
Can rest and relax and not then continue to provide information to local law enforcement and to you.
Well,
so that was a mistake.
I don't see it as a mistake. I see it as something working with the public to identify that there was a subject
So if
in
you
custody.
if you put out a statement that says we've got our man, and in fact it turns out that you didn't have your man, that's not a mistake?
But that's not what I said.
Well, I'll go on. That's my understanding.
Let me tell you exactly what's happening here, because the details are damning and everyone needs to understand how serious this situation has become. Top Senate Democrats, including Senator Dick Durbin, the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, have formally accused Patel of perjury. They've sent letters to the DOJ Inspector General and internal watchdogs laying out the evidence. They're saying that if whistleblower claims are true, and they believe they are, then Patel may have committed perjury during his confirmation hearing. And perjury isn't some minor offense. It's a federal felony. People go to prison for lying under oath to Congress, and senators are now on the record saying they believe Patel did exactly that. The accusations center on two main issues that Patel apparently lied about. First, his role in secretly directing a purge of senior FBI officials while he was still just a nominee, before he was even confirmed, before he had any legal authority to be making personnel decisions at the FBI. Whistleblowers have come forward saying Patel was behind the scenes pulling strings and ordering people fired. But when Patel was asked about this during his confirmation hearing, he denied it. He said he was not aware of any such purge. If the whistleblowers are telling the truth and Durbin believes they are, then that denial was a lie, under oath, to the United States Senate. Second, Patel's testimony about what he told a grand jury regarding Trump's handling of classified documents and the Epstein investigation. This gets complicated, but stay with me because it's important. Patel previously invoked the Fifth Amendment when asked about statements he made regarding Trump supposedly declassifying documents. Then he testified to a grand jury under immunity, meaning he couldn't refuse to answer. But when senators later asked him about that grand jury testimony, they say his answers were misleading. They say he misrepresented what he actually told the grand jury, and if that's true, if he lied to the Senate about what he said to the grand jury, that's another potential perjury charge. Legal commentators are pointing out something really important here. Lying to Congress, whether under oath or not, is itself a federal crime. You don't even need to be formally sworn in for it to be illegal. But when you are under oath, which Patel was during his confirmation hearing, the penalties are even more severe. If the DOJ corroborates what the whistleblowers are saying, if they confirm that Patel was secretly directing the FBI purge while claiming he knew nothing about it, then criminal charges become a real possibility. Indictment becomes a real possibility. Arrest becomes a real possibility. Think about what that would look like. The director of the FBI being read his rights. The director of the FBI being processed and fingerprinted. The director of the FBI facing a judge on federal perjury charges. That's not some fantasy scenario. That's where this is heading. If the evidence proves what senators believe it will prove. And right now, Patel is boxed in by his own prior sworn statements. He's watching senators and watchdogs line up evidence that could justify a criminal referral. He's watching legal analysts spell out on television that the next step after a confirmed lie under oath is indictment and arrest. The legal vice is tightening around him, and there may be no way out. So yeah, when I say a judge could issue an arrest warning, I'm talking about the very real possibility that a federal judge could someday be reading an arrest warrant for the FBI director based on perjury charges. That's not hyperbole. That's where the facts are pointing. That's what senators are openly discussing. And that's why this story matters so much right now. Stick with me, because we need to go through all the evidence and understand exactly how much trouble Kash Patel is really in. Okay? So let's really dig into this, because the accusations against Kash Patel are detailed and specific, and they paint a picture of someone who repeatedly lied to Congress to get confirmed as FBI director. This isn't vague partisan criticism. This is senators with access to whistleblower testimony and classified information saying they have evidence that Patel committed federal crimes. Let me walk you through each accusation so you understand the full scope of what's happening here. First, the secret purge of FBI officials. This is probably the most damaging accusation because it goes directly to Patel's honesty during his confirmation hearing. Here's what allegedly happened, according to whistleblowers who have come forward. While Patel was still just a nominee before the Senate had voted to confirm him, he was already secretly directing personnel decisions at the FBI. He was identifying officials who had worked on investigations related to Trump and marking them for removal. He was communicating with people inside the FBI about who should be fired and who should be reassigned. He was essentially running the agency before he had any legal authority to do so. Now, during his confirmation hearing, senators asked Patel directly about this. They had heard rumors. They had concerns. They wanted to know if he was already meddling in FBI business before being confirmed. And Patel said no. He testified under oath that he was not aware of any purge of FBI officials. He denied any involvement. He presented himself as someone who was waiting patiently for the confirmation process to play out before taking any action. But according to whistleblowers, that was a complete lie. According to people inside the FBI who have come forward, Patel was the one directing the purge. He wasn't just aware of it, he was running it. Senator Durbin has laid this out in formal letters to the DOJ Inspector General. He's cited specific whistleblower accounts. He's provided details about what Patel allegedly did and when, and he's explicitly stated that if these allegations are true, Patel may have committed perjury before the Judiciary Committee. That's not some offhand comment. That's the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee formally accusing the FBI director of a federal felony. The second set of accusations involves Patel's testimony about Trump and classified documents. This is where things get really complicated and really damaging for Patel. Here's the background you need to understand. After Trump left office, there was a major investigation into classified documents he took to Mar-a-Lago. Patel was involved in this situation because he made public claims that Trump had declassified everything. He said he was present when Trump supposedly issued a sweeping declassification order. This was a key part of Trump's defense, the idea that the documents weren't really classified because Trump had declassified them. But when investigators started asking Patel about these claims under formal circumstances, things got interesting. Patel invoked the Fifth Amendment. He refused to answer questions because he said the answers might incriminate him. Think about that for a second. The guy claiming Trump had legitimately declassified documents refused to answer questions about it because it might incriminate him. That tells you something right there. Eventually, Patel testified before a grand jury under immunity. That means he couldn't refuse to answer. The immunity protected him from prosecution based on his testimony, so he had to talk. He told the grand jury whatever he told them about the declassification claims and his role in the document situation. We don't know exactly what he said because grand jury testimony is secret. But here's where the perjury problem comes in. When senators later asked Patel about his grand jury testimony, about what he had told investigators under oath, they say his answers were misleading. They say he misrepresented what he actually said to the grand jury. He allegedly told the Senate one thing, while the grand jury transcript shows he said something different. If that's true, it's textbook perjury. You can't tell one story to a grand jury and a different story to Congress. Both are under oath. Both carry legal consequences for lying. And if Patel got caught trying to square two contradictory versions of events, he's in serious legal trouble. There's also the Epstein dimension to all of this that we've talked about before. Patel testified before a grand jury about Jeffrey Epstein-related matters as well. And when senators tried to ask him about that testimony, he gave answers that they say were false. He claimed there were court orders preventing him from discussing his testimony. A federal judge later confirmed that no such orders existed. He claimed he had released transcripts of his testimony. Committee staff checked and found no such transcripts. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has been particularly aggressive in documenting these apparent lies. He's read the evidence into the congressional record. He's explicitly accused Patel of making up lies to escape questioning. He's created a paper trail that could be used in any future prosecution. So let's add up what we're looking at here. Patel allegedly lied about not knowing about the FBI purge when whistleblowers say he was directing it. Patel allegedly lied about what he told the grand jury regarding classified documents. Patel allegedly lied about court orders preventing him from discussing his Epstein testimony. Patel allegedly lied about releasing transcripts that don't exist. That's 4 separate potential instances of lying to Congress, 4 potential perjury charges, 4 opportunities for prosecutors to build a case against the FBI director. Legal experts are pointing out that this kind of pattern is exactly what prosecutors look for. One lie might be explained away as a misunderstanding or faulty memory, but 4 lies about different topics at different hearings? That starts to look like a deliberate pattern of deception. That starts to look like someone who decided to lie his way through the confirmation process and figured he'd never get caught. Now, let me address the obvious question. If Patel really committed perjury, why hasn't he been charged yet? The answer is pretty simple: politics. The DOJ is controlled by Trump's administration. The Attorney General is a Trump loyalist. They're not going to prosecute the FBI director that Trump personally chose for the job. As long as Trump is in office and backing Patel, criminal charges from this DOJ are basically impossible. But that protection isn't permanent. Administrations change, political winds shift, and the evidence being compiled right now, the whistleblower testimony, the congressional record, the formal letters to inspectors general, all of that is being preserved, is being documented, is creating a foundation that a future prosecutor could use to bring charges. There's also the possibility that pressure could build to the point where even this administration has to act. If the evidence becomes overwhelming, if more whistleblowers come forward, if the lies become undeniable, there could be calls for a special counsel. There could be demands that someone independent investigate. We've seen that happen before, when political pressure reaches a certain threshold. And the senators pushing this issue aren't backing down. They're holding hearings. They're demanding documents. They're putting everything on the record. Durbin's letter to the Inspector General is a formal request for investigation. It's not just political rhetoric, it's a legal document asking law enforcement officials to look into potential crimes by the FBI director. That request doesn't go away. It sits there in the system, waiting to be acted upon. So where does this leave Kash Patel? It leaves him boxed in, trapped by his own prior statements. Every time he testified under oath, he created a record that can be checked against the facts. Every time he denied something that whistleblowers say is true, he created potential criminal liability for himself. And now senators are explicitly connecting the dots and saying this looks like perjury, and perjury is a crime that leads to arrest and prosecution. The legal vice is tightening. The evidence is mounting. And the only thing protecting Patel right now is political loyalty from an administration that could be gone in a few years. After that, all bets are off. All right, so let's break this down into the key points, because there's a lot here, and I want to make sure everyone understands exactly how much legal jeopardy Kash Patel is facing right now. Point number 1, Senator Dick Durbin and other top Democrats have formally accused Patel of perjury during his confirmation hearing. This is not casual criticism or political attacks. This is the ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee sending formal letters to the DOJ Inspector General saying that the FBI director may have committed a federal felony. Durbin has cited specific whistleblower testimony. He's laid out the evidence. He's explained exactly why he believes Patel lied under oath, and he's requested an official investigation into the matter. That's as serious as it gets in terms of congressional oversight. Point number 2, whistleblowers have placed Patel at the center of a secret plan to purge FBI officials while he was still just a nominee. This directly contradicts what Patel told the Senate during his confirmation hearing. He said he was not aware of any purge. He denied involvement. But whistleblowers inside the FBI say he was the one directing it. He was identifying targets. He was communicating with people inside the agency. He was making personnel decisions before he had any legal authority to do so. If the whistleblowers are telling the truth, and Durbin clearly believes they are, then Patel committed perjury. Point number 3, Patel's testimony about the classified document situation and his grand jury statements has raised additional perjury concerns. He invoked the Fifth Amendment when first asked about Trump's declassification claims, suggesting he knew his answers might be incriminating. Then he testified to a grand jury under immunity. Then when senators asked about that grand jury testimony, they say he gave misleading answers that contradicted what he actually told investigators. If you tell one story to a grand jury and a different story to Congress, that's perjury. Both settings are under oath. Both carry serious legal consequences for lying. Point number 4, Patel's claims about court orders preventing him from discussing Epstein-related testimony have been debunked. He told senators he couldn't answer their questions because of court orders from the D.C. Chief Judge. Senator Whitehouse actually checked with the judge. The judge confirmed no such orders exist. Federal rules allow witnesses to disclose their own grand jury testimony if they want to. Patel made up a legal barrier that doesn't exist to avoid answering questions. And then when caught, he claimed he had released transcripts that committee staff couldn't find because they don't exist either. That's multiple lies stacked on top of each other. Point number 5. Lying to Congress is a federal crime that carries real prison time. This is important for people to understand. Perjury before Congress isn't some slap on the wrist offense. It's a serious federal felony. Michael Cohen went to prison for lying to Congress. Roger Stone was convicted of lying to Congress. The precedent is clear. When you lie under oath to the United States Congress, there are criminal consequences. And multiple senators are now on record saying they believe Kash Patel did exactly that on multiple occasions about multiple subjects. So what happens next in this situation? In the short term, Patel is probably protected by political loyalty. Trump appointed him. Trump supports him. The DOJ under Trump isn't going to prosecute the FBI director for perjury. That's just the political reality of the moment. But that protection is temporary. It only lasts as long as Trump is in office and as long as he continues backing Patel. Administrations end. Political alliances shift. And when that happens, all of the evidence being compiled right now will still exist. Durbin's letters, the whistleblower testimony, the congressional records showing exactly what Patel said and when he said it, the judge's confirmation that no court orders existed, all of it documented, all of it preserved, all of it waiting for a prosecutor willing to act on it. There's also the question of what additional evidence might emerge. More whistleblowers could come forward, more documents could surface, more contradictions between what Patel said and what actually happened could be discovered. Every new piece of evidence adds to his legal exposure. Every new confirmed lie strengthens the case for criminal charges, and Patel can't take back what he already said under oath. Those statements are locked in forever. The political pressure is also building in ways that could force action, even from this administration. If the evidence becomes overwhelming enough, if it becomes undeniable that the FBI director committed multiple felonies to get his job, there could be demands for a special counsel. There could be pressure from Republicans who don't want to be seen defending an obvious perjurer. There could be situations where even Trump's DOJ has to do something to maintain any credibility. The senators pushing this aren't going away. They're holding hearings. They're issuing subpoenas. They're creating a comprehensive record of Patel's alleged lies. And they're explicitly framing this in terms of criminal liability, talking about perjury charges, talking about potential arrests, talking about what happens when you lie to Congress and get caught. Legal analysts are spelling out on television what the next steps will look like if DOJ decides to move forward. First, the Inspector General investigates and issues a report confirming the lies. Then DOJ prosecutors review the evidence and decide whether to seek an indictment. Then a grand jury hears the case and returns charges if they find probable cause. Then a judge issues an arrest warrant. Then the FBI director gets arrested, processed, and brought before a court to face federal perjury charges. That's the pathway being discussed openly by people who understand how these cases work. It's not hypothetical. It's the standard process for prosecuting perjury. The only question is whether political protection will prevent it from happening or whether the evidence will eventually be too overwhelming to ignore. So yeah, when I say Kash Patel is facing an arrest warning, I'm talking about this entire situation. The formal accusations from senators, the whistleblower testimony contradicting his sworn statements, the documented lies about court orders and transcripts, the legal experts explaining that perjury leads to indictment and arrest. All of it pointing in one direction toward potential criminal charges against the FBI director. Patel might feel safe right now. He might think Trump will protect him indefinitely. He might think this will all blow over, but the evidence is being preserved. The documentation is happening, and the senators pushing for accountability aren't backing down. All right, that's the story. Kash Patel is facing formal perjury accusations from top Senate Democrats. Whistleblowers say he secretly directed an FBI purge while denying any knowledge under oath. His testimony about classified documents and Epstein matters has been contradicted by evidence and judges. Multiple senators have requested official investigations into his potential criminal conduct. Legal experts say perjury leads to indictment and arrest, and that's exactly what Patel could be facing. The legal vice is tightening, the evidence is mounting, and while political protection might save him for now, the foundation for future prosecution is being built in real time. Hit that subscribe button if you want to stay on top of this story as it develops. Drop a comment and tell me what you think. Should Patel face criminal charges for lying to Congress, or will he get away with it? And I'll see you in the next one. Because trust me, with everything happening right now, there's always going to be a next one. Always.